My parents were absolutely confused by my whole music thing. There was sort of none of it in the family, and I was sort of just playing recorder at school, and then my primary school called my parents and were like, you know, you might want to like get her some lessons, and she seems to be really enjoying it, and she's good and stuff. And they were like, really? Okay. And actually, what was really cool about them was, you know, Mum then developed an interest in music sort of with me, and she'd take me to loads of classical concerts and stuff, and so actually, you know, it was nice. We all sort of learnt some stuff together. Rollo and I sort of listened to so much of the same music, and then sort of some completely different stuff. You know, I might be off at a Duran Duran gig at, you know, at the point where he's sort of too old for that, and but I used to love listening to all his records, and you know, he was a huge Clash fan, so sort of, you know, I'd be dancing around his bedroom to that, and but you can't, I mean, you know, he's 6 years older than me. He was really cool. He couldn't help influencing me at that point. And also I was a bit of a sort of classical music geek for quite a lot of, you know, my childhood, which, you know, and I just loved it. And I think, you know, what was nice is we sort of both influenced each other a bit. I mean, I was always doing music, and it was always the thing that I sort of rushed home to do, or would rush to the studio to do, and sing in bands and do gigs and stuff. But I suppose I never thought, you know, it could actually be all day, every day. You know, you sort of think it was something you do, and then I did sort of lots of different jobs, and then yeah, I'd done a demo tape, and I'd given it to a friend who'd given it to another friend who'd given it to another friend. Somehow it ended up with Clive Davis, and then, you know, I suddenly had a whole heap of interest. And I mean, it was actually just quite surprising to me, because it was not like we'd sort of, I don't know, it was all so unplanned, and actually I didn't really understand anything about the music industry. I met Clive Davis, which was great. I think it was far more nerve-wracking for people like my brother who came with me, and because they knew who he was and I didn't, and I sort of ended up sort of singing in this hotel room, and it was like, okay, this is weird, but whatever, it's all cool. And then he offered me a deal, which actually I wanted to make the album first, because at that point I'd already agreed with Rollo that we could, you know, we'd make a record together, and just I wanted to do it in the way I wanted to do it. And I actually, at that point, had been doing a lot of backing vocals with Faithless and things like that. And I'd seen enough singer friends of mine and artist friends of mine make records with a record deal that then didn't get released. And that to me just seems the worst case scenario, because then you're tied into something and no one hears your music, which is the point. And so I just said, look, you know, I'll let you know when I've done a record that I love, and if you still love it, then that's great, and I think you're great, and that's how it worked. So I finished the record, and then I signed a deal with Arista. Yeah, the album didn't come out for a year and a half in England, because there was some issues with the record deal and companies being bought and just stuff I didn't even want to deal with. And it was like, you know what, if it can't come out, it can't come out. I'll go where it can come out, and I can do gigs. And but what was fun, you know, I'd come home and, you know, tell my friends, yeah, I did this gig, and, you know, I got a record, and they're like, really? Yeah, you sure? And it was definitely frustrating, but also it gave me a really good chance to just spend a year and a half in America, and actually it was brilliant for me, because, you know, when I wrote the songs on No Angel, I really didn't think people would necessarily hear them, and they were incredibly personal. And actually it was quite a shocker for me in the first year of touring to even stand in front of people and sing the songs. You know, I get stage fright anyway, and always have done since I was a little kid. I mean, it just, you know, I'd get so nervous, and B, suddenly I'm standing there and it feels like I'm like, I just felt totally exposed and awkward about it. And so actually it was brilliant that I just got so into it, and got so into the feeling of you know, what happens when you are playing with friends and playing live, that I forgot about it. I got a call, and closely followed by a CD with sent to me. I was in New York at the time with this, you know, they said, oh, Eminem sampled the song, and I'm thinking, I wonder what's happening, you know, I mean, because I was actually a huge Eminem fan, but I was sort of like, I wonder what he's done, you know. and we put it on. I was with a couple of friends of mine who were visiting, and we put it on in the hotel room, and I was listening to the lyrics. I was just like, this is amazing. I mean, I just think his lyrics on that song are absolutely brilliant. You know, he's, to me, the ultimate storyteller, you know, and I was just like, this is great. And then I didn't think too much more about it, and we just sort of got on with the tour, and then just suddenly everything completely exploded. It was definitely quite a leap and quite a shock, but I think what was great and why it didn't fully register was because I was just fully into a tour at that point. So you don't really notice too much of what's going on, I'd sort of, and so I was just getting on with that, but definitely it was like, whoa, what just happened? I mean, and I was not prepared for it in any way whatsoever, and actually would never be. I've always just made the music that I want to make. I wouldn't really know how to make music any other way. I'd be completely stuck if someone said you have to do something that is da 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 da. I'd just be like, I don't know, ask someone else. That's not me. But I was okay because I think because I'd also written quite a lot of the songs quite early on, and so I felt sort of just like I just had so much more to say about so many things. I'd only written at that point, sort of. I mean, I sort of wrote a lot of songs for No Angel and didn't use them all, but I'd only written say like 30 songs at that point, that I'd actually finished and recorded. So when I started Life for Rent, it was just like I've got tons more stuff I want to write about. So actually, it was, and I knew how I wanted it to sound, and I knew that I wanted me and Rollo to just do the album together and just really sort of push on through, even if like just on every song, and so it was actually a remarkably sort of simple process and great to work with him, and it just made life really easy to be able to come back from all of this sort of craziness and just be with my brother in the studio, and it's us and it's our friends, and it's just simple. I toured for a couple of years after Life for Rent, and then I actually really did want to just, once I'd realised I'd been touring sort of pretty much on and off for 9 years at that point with all the Faithless touring before, I just thought, it's time to go home. It's like I can't spend the rest of my life on a bus, and so I went home and I really wanted to spend some time with family, and so I was doing that, and then I met Brion sort of late 2005, and he persuaded me to come out to LA to do some writing, and so I went off out to LA. I was a bit dubious at first, and just had such a great time. So then I spent a bit of time there, and I would sort of come home all the time because I still wanted to I was really enjoying actually just being at home and being and then I just got on this really lovely role of learning so much more about music and becoming a better musician, and actually really taking the time to do things and taking the time to sort of pull things apart and put them back together and do experiments that I never really did before, and sort of jog my brain into all sorts of different ways of writing and different ways of doing things. It was sort of quite a natural thing. We sort of met briefly, and I played him a couple of things that I'd been working on, and it was this sort of mutual thing where he just inspired me so much so quickly in a way that I'd never been before. He's one of these amazing people who just brings out the best in anyone he comes into contact with, as far as I can tell, and he gave me so much confidence in so many ways. He's this incredible musician. He can play absolutely everything and brilliantly, and he arranged all the strings and orchestras on the record and could just play everything, and I love the feel of how he plays, and I remember when I first played him a couple of songs when I met him, and I was like, it could be like this, but we'll get someone, I'd get someone to play it properly, and he was sort of the first person. He just put it so simply of, he gave me such confidence in the feel of the way I play, and to sort of develop that, and not, when I pick up a guitar and think, I can't play like Jimi Hendrix, and it's like, no, well, you actually have a really unique thing, and follow that through, and he just, he just gave me a huge amount of confidence and skills, and he's just a pretty amazing person to be around, and sort of so joyful about music, and if you're working with someone like that, it's hard to stop, because it's the best of what music is. I finished a huge amount of stuff last summer and was on the verge of putting that out, and then then just had learnt so much from working with John. And I came back to England and just got on this crazy writing role where I was writing songs like Quiet Times and Day Before Day and Us Two Little Girls and all that, and recording everything at home in my kitchen. The sound was just great, and you know, I had to sort of just call and say, look, you know, I'm on a roll, I'm sorry, I don't want to leave this right now. This, you know, it doesn't happen that you actually get the chance to use what you've learned from making a record, and while it's still fresh. You know, what happens usually is you learn something from, you know, all the records you get involved in, and you think, oh, I must remember next time to try this and this and the combination of that, and you know, yeah, I just forget, you know, I don't retain that sort of information. So it's brilliant, and I'm so glad I had that time, because then Rollo came round and heard all of that stuff at the beginning of this year. I was sort of just playing stuff to him, and then he got really excited and wanted to do a whole load more songs. So I ended up massively overdoing it, and there was a point where it was like, okay, you need to leave these four walls and actually play some songs. Because of the way we all listen to music now, is to really just make an album that if you choose to listen to it from beginning to end, it is meant to be a journey from the beginning to end. I know that, you know, we all just pick the songs we like off things now, but I actually felt even more pressure to just say that, you know, like, this is a whole journey, and I'm going to not stop until I make it that way, and every song is as important. So then I got the idea that I wanted to do like a video or film for all the songs, because for me they all, you know, it wasn't a sort of thing where you pick one and do a video. So we sort of basically wanted to do it around the world and do some short films, and I just sort of gave a simple theme of what is home to various different directors in sort of different parts of the world, and the stuff that's coming back is fantastic. It's so cool for me, because it's like I have such a clear image in my head when I'm writing a song of what I'm writing about. Even if all the lines are from different places, I have the pictures that go in my head when I'm singing the song and when I'm writing it. And now there's these films that some things actually match what's in my head. Some things are so wildly different and twist the song completely, or just turn it on its head. And they're just, you know, they're beautiful. It's actually worked out. So, I mean, it was a bit of a random experiment. It was just like, we can do this, you know, just let's experiment. I'm a bit rubbish with plans, which all my friends hate me for. You know, I'm going to keep writing songs and keep making music. I doubt I'll leave it 5 years again. and yeah, I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing next week. I'm rubbish, and I'm really bad at even, my head explodes if I try and plan anything.